Welcome to Sci-Fi Stories. If you love stories of courage and mystery, make sure to subscribe and join our growing community.
Alien warlords did not fear death. They feared humans at lunchtime. High strategist Valker of the Threxian Dominion had orchestrated planetary sieges across 23 systems. He had watched suns collapse. He had negotiated with beings made of sentient plasma. Nothing prepared him for the smell. The mess hall doors of the human warship Resolute slid open. Heat rolled out. Spice. Smoke. Something sizzling. At the center of it all stood a single human, Lieutenant Harris, sleeves rolled, apron on, completely relaxed. "Oh hey," Harris said. "You guys just in time." "Taco Tuesday." The translator implants paused. "Taco, what?" whispered Ambassador Kiri of the Lumery Collective. Harris lifted a circular flatbread and dropped sizzling strips of seasoned meat onto it. The meat hissed against the pan like restrained plasma. "Beef tacos," he said proudly. "Bit of chili, garlic, paprika, cumin, nothing crazy." Every alien in the delegation stiffened. "You have weaponized plant alkaloids?" Valker asked carefully. Harris blinked. "You mean spices?" He sprinkled bright red powder across the meat. Pilot Zeth's thermal sensors flared violently. "That compound is capsaicin," Zeth croaked. "It activates pain receptors." "Yeah," Harris nodded, "that's the fun part." The delegation stepped back in unison. "You consume pain willingly?" Ambassador Kiri asked. "Enhances the flavor." He added diced onions, then crushed tomatoes, then something green. "Is that plant toxin?" Valker demanded. "Cilantro." The meat crackled. The aroma thickened. Combat AIs inside 3 alien exosuits began calculating survival probabilities. They did not improve. Harris spooned the meat into the tortilla and folded it with practiced grace. "This recipe's been in my family for generations," he said. "My mom makes it better, though." He squeezed a wedge of lime over the top. Acid mist sprayed gently. Admiral Trovic physically recoiled. "More acids," he whispered. "Oh, wait," Harris said suddenly. "Almost forgot." He reached into a container labeled Extreme Habanero Sauce. Valker's secondary heart skipped a cycle. Harris poured a line of orange-red liquid across the taco. The air itself seemed to tremble. "That concentration would trigger neural distress in most carbon-based species," Kiri said. Harris shrugged. "Yeah, it's got a kick." He took a bite. The delegation froze. They watched carefully for signs of organ failure. Instead, Harris smiled. "Perfect." Sweat beaded lightly across his forehead. His eyes watered. He took another bite. "Want some?" he asked. 12 of the most feared warriors in the quadrant instinctively reached for sidearms that were not there. Valker forced himself forward. "You ingest heated flesh, acids, and chemical irritants voluntarily." "Yep. And this pleases you?" "Absolutely." Harris grabbed another tortilla. "You guys gotta try one." "No," Kiri answered instantly. Harris paused. "Suit yourselves." He grabbed a metal container and popped it open. Steam exploded upward. "What is that?" Trovic demanded. "Rice, grain matter." "Correct." Harris poured molten orange cheese sauce over it. The aliens collectively flinched. "You are combining proteins, toxins, and dairy secretions?" Valker asked. "Now you're getting it." Harris sat down casually. "You know what makes it better?" He lifted a chilled glass. Amber liquid fizzed inside. "Beer." Pilot Zeth's internal diagnostics screamed. "That is fermented grain ethanol." "Yep. Voluntary intoxication during active duty. It's lunch." Harris took a sip. He leaned back. Content. The silence grew heavy. The Threxian combat algorithm updated its threat matrix. Humans consume toxins recreationally, stimulate pain receptors for enjoyment, ferment substances into controlled poison. Survive extreme chemical exposure daily. Call it Tuesday. Valker finally spoke. "Human Harris." "Yeah, why?" Harris thought for a moment. "Because it tastes good." That answer broke something fundamental inside the delegation's logic processors. They had prepared for primitive diplomacy. Instead, they had encountered a species that turned biological hazard into culinary art. Kiri leaned toward Velker. If they willingly consume controlled pain and toxins for pleasure, what would they endure in war? Velker did not answer. He was watching Harris reach for something else. A small red shaker. "What is that?" Trovik whispered. Harris grinned. "Crushed red pepper." He shook it generously over the taco. The delegation collectively stepped back again. Harris finished eating. He wiped his hands. He stood. "So," he said. "Ready to talk alliance terms?" Velker straightened. For the first time in his military career, he felt cautious, not because of human weapons, not because of their ships, but because any species that could domesticate poison, acid, fire, fermentation, and pain, and call it comfort food, was not to be underestimated. Velker bowed slightly. "Perhaps," he said carefully, "we begin negotiations immediately." Harris smiled. "Cool, but first dessert." The room went silent. "What is dessert?" Kiri asked slowly. Harris opened a freezer. Cold vapor spilled out. He pulled out a frozen slab of chocolate lava cake, and ice cream. The delegation retreated 3 steps. Behind them, Harris happily microwaved sugar. And in that moment, across the galaxy, humanity's threat level was quietly upgraded. From emerging species to culinary apex predator. And Lieutenant Harris, he just wanted seconds.